Hey, if you're 50 or older, or if you have a loved one that's 50 or older, parent or someone, you want to pay attention to this next segment. It's very, very important. We have with us Kimberly Campbell, Mississippi State Director for AARP Mississippi. How are you?
Doing well. Glad to be back with you.
Well, it's good to have you back. I enjoy you coming in because a lot of the things you tell about this affect me.
Right, right.
Because I turned 50 13 years ago. So, almost 14.
That's right. You're our demographic then.
I am your demographic. So anything that you talk about when it comes to seniors or whatever, I'm listening to, because I know when I get ready to retire in a few years, that's
right.
really, really going to be important. Give us a little overview about AARP Mississippi.
Of course. Well, again, AARP, we are a nonprofit organization. We are not partisan into politics, and so we always like for everybody to understand that. We represent our demographic. Our demographic is the 50 and above. However, we have that little catchphrase that we say we're advocating and working for their families as well. So basically what we do for our demographic, we're doing for everybody else. People would be surprised to know that we also play in the arena of student loans, for instance. We've got a lot of federal advocacy work to push back on trying to figure out how can we, deal with the issues of student loan debts. Because imagine why. Well, a lot of 50-year-olds have children that are not even in college yet.
Yeah.
And many times, even if they're older, they're on those loans. And so that impacts your financial well-being, which is another big area that AARP works toward. We really want to help people, age the way that they want to age. We want you to be concerned about your financial well-being. We want you to be concerned about caregiving issues. And we want you to be concerned about things that are happening on the national level as well.
Well, let me ask you this. You mentioned student loans. What if you turn 50
Yes.
and you still have because you went to college?
That's right, and you still have them.
Student loans.
Absolutely.
How does that help? How does AARP help with that?
Absolutely. Well, that's a part of it. That's a part of us fighting, with, well, I don't want to say fighting, but we're advocating for certain legislation to really, come into play, to really address with, either wiping them out, finding a better way to work with interest rates, really coming up with common sense solutions, because it is a staggering issue dealing with student loan debts now for people that are 50 and above. It's
Right.
not just, as we say, the younger demographic that's dealing with student loans, because many times their loans, our names are on them anyway,
Right,
as the
right,
parents. Right. So, but many of us, case in point, one of my volunteers told me just the other day, she just turned 68. She just made her last payment for her student loans. 68. That is astonishing. And so, we know that we want some things to come into play to kind of help ease that burden on people that are 50 and above.
Yeah, that's a really big deal too. So whenever you do get that AARP card in the little envelope in the mail
That's
for
right.
the first time, don't freak out. It's
Don't
not the
freak
end.
out.
It's not the end of the world.
It's a good thing.
It is.
It's a good thing. We recently had J-Lo on our cover because she turned 50 several months back now. But I was like, if you saw the Super Bowl, if you saw the Super Bowl, that's 50. So, it's about living life. We never want people to think of AARP as, oh, I'm old, life is over. It's really about life beginning. We really have a lot of our volunteers and our members.
Right.
They will tell you when they start the chapters of 50 and 60, it's a new life. They're changing, they're transitioning to new careers. That's some of the other things that we work towards is giving resources and tools, sometimes job fairs, sometimes interview training skills, because many times if you've been in your career 30 years, it's a new day. It's social media, it's learning how to do things online. And so, we try to, stand in that gap and help our demographic really, age well and age the way that they want to age.
I know this year y'all will be at a senior fair again,
Yes.
which this year is going to be the end of September. Usually it's the first part of October, but it's going to be the end of September. I believe that like the 28th or something like that.
Right.
The last Tuesday in September is when our senior fair is going to be again.
Yes.
And y'all always there,
Yes,
always have a
we
great
love
deal
it.
of information for
We
people.
love it. We love it. We use, I believe last year we dealt a big caregiving, we were on stage dealing with some of our caregiving issues and topics because, and just quickly, because I know we'll discuss caregiving probably at another time, but, caregiving is very important because never before in this generation do we see millennials that are doing caregiving. We also do the generation that we call the sandwich generation, where, we have people that they're still raising younger, minor children, they're still in the prime of the career, and yet they're dealing with with older parents. And so that's huge. You know, in past generations, by the time you had to deal with your parents, you had already raised your children, you were already retired, you'd already lived your life, and then it's like, okay, I can take on this extra, you know, responsibility. But now you have people that are 40 that are dealing with aging parents, that are dealing with elementary school children, you know, and still in their careers. And millennials, sometimes are 25, dealing with aging parents because, you know, people tend to have children later now.
Right.
So all of that stuff is a ripple effect into how we can take care of our communities and take care of each other.
Well, you mentioned that too. I know a lot of couples or whatever, they're waiting until they're like in their mid-30s to have children.
Yes, look, I'm one of them.
Well,
I had my middle child at 38 and my baby at 40.
Wow.
So I am 48 now with an 8-year-old and a 10-year-old. So yeah, life is, and a 17-year-old. So, you know, life changes. You know,
does.
Life is very different. And I'm dealing with, my parents are 80. So I'm dealing with, you know, taking care of my parents, still in the prime of my career, and raising young children. So that's a lot. That's a lot. And so some of our, you know, our prepare to care workshops, some of the work that we do is surrounded by that. We
got just a couple of minutes left. Talk about these HBs, 940 and 1077.
Yes. Well, quickly, you know, we advocate on the federal level. So, you know, we're in D.C. dealing with our congressional leadership, but we also have state level legislation that we work on.
Right.
So some of the stuff that we're working on this year is dealing with caregiver tax credit work, is dealing with financial exploitation of the elderly. For instance, you know, we have a bill in the works that would make a banking institution, if they felt that something was fraudulent, because, you know, in our small towns, most of our bankers, they know Mrs. Sally. They know Mrs. Sally comes in on Friday, Mrs. Sally never withdraws more than $100. Well, if Mrs. Sally shows up on a particular day, that's not her normal day, and she withdraws $20,000 from her account with somebody standing next to her that they've never seen. Well, now this bill will say, let's pump the brakes, let's freeze it until we can do some investigation. And so those are just quickly some of the things that we work on the state level.
I know that's one of the unfortunately, so many people try to take advantage of the elderly situations like that.
It's a special place for people that take advantage of our elderly. It really is, unfortunately.
Well, this is true. You mentioned this, that you train a lot of volunteers, you know, in the less than a minute we have left. If you want to get involved, you can email MSAARP at aarp.org. The websites on the bottom of the screen there are also, you can call the number on the bottom of your screen, 866-554-5382. The two numbers that you can call. So just to give you a comment. And in the upcoming weeks, we'll have some other great informational segments from AARP. We'll be talking about fraud, family caregiving, you mentioned that, and also the census. Anyway, it's so good to see you, and we'll see you again soon.
Looking forward to it.
Again, tune in. You want some more information, call the numbers on your screen there and get some help and answer your questions from AARP.